SoundCloud.com/chaotic flame, YouTube.com/@ nothing left to do but win. This is nothing left to do but win here with a very, very, very special episode for you. We have my guy Hasjonn Simmons coming back to converse with us about cybersecurity, and I'm excited. I got some questions lined up. So without further ado, I'll bring up my guy, my man, Hasjonn. What's up, brother? How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. Everything is good. Yo, what's going on with you? It's been a couple of weeks since we reconnected, but here we go for another episode. Let's whenever you're ready, let's get into this.
All right. So let's just get straight into the questions. First off, welcome back. Welcome back. So for anyone who wanted to get into cybersecurity, are there like certain certifications that they should go for?
Yes, and it's not because a certification is going to land you the job, but I will say when you study certain certifications, it's going to give you the language, and the language is everything, right? I mean, sometimes, and this is not cybersecurity related, but like if you want to talk to a woman or something, you got to speak the right language, right? So a lot of things are like that. If you want the right job, and in this case, cybersecurity, guess what? You got to know how to speak the right language. You got to know the right words to use, say. And that's where some of these certifications could, at least reading those books, will give you that vocabulary so you can speak that language and, do some training, get some background experience, and boom, you're on your way. But you got to have the language. If you don't have the language, where you going to go? It's like, you try to talk to a lady at a club or something. If she ain't feeling you, your language, your game ain't right. So she come like, sorry, not talking to you, So, but no, on a serious note, cybersecurity, you got to have the language, and the languages in cybersecurity, some of those books, and I would also suggest understanding the language of networking and things like that, because that's all kind of encompasses the entire conversation and the dialogue, and then you on your way. But I would do like a security plus, or maybe a network plus or network. Those things will give you that language, and language is key. Then that's it.
Language is key. Network plus. So I just wanted to ask you, have you ever developed software in regard to cybersecurity?
You know what? Long time ago, I took a shot at developing, and I shot my shot, and guess what? No software development for me, but I did take my shot a while ago. I do mostly infrastructure and cybersecurity and, IT engineering, network engineering. But no, I really not done any development of software and cybersecurity.
All right. So nothing developmental. Now, I also want to, now that we're still here on this subject, as far as the physical aspect of security and the cyber aspect of security, would you say that they are equivalent, or is one more dangerous than the other?
Cyber warfare and physical warfare, uh,
Yes.
both can be dangerous. I think uh, I wouldn't say one is more dangerous than the other, but both could be dangerous. It can cause chaos. Obviously, if there's a real warfare, something like that, you're gonna look at a lot of chaos, destruction, mayhem, right? Confusion, death,
Yeah.
and that's never good, right? There's plenty of wars where that's going on. But cyber warfare, it may not have the dramatics of an actual warfare, but depending upon what's done, it could have dire consequences. One example is like right now, there's a lot of threats against the United States infrastructure and towards its gas systems and water systems. I mean, most of us don't kind of dream about it, but could you imagine if you were told you can't use your water at home? What do you think
Wow.
people gonna do? What if New York City couldn't use its water? What are those 7 million people gonna do when they can't use water? That's gonna be like that would be a nightmare, right? Seven million people and nobody can use water. That's just like insane.
And if I
And then
could
how you
also,
gonna bring 7 million gallons? How you gonna bring that much water into New York? You know,
e- e- exactly, and these are the scenarios that sometimes we have to think about. Recently we had a 4.8 earthquake out here in New Jersey.
right?
In my opinion, when that earthquake happened, it showed me how much control we don't have It made me realize we're not in control. I never thought of a scenario of 7 million people not having water until you brought that to my attention. What do you do in that situation where no one can use water?
Hey man, that's a plan for FEMA. but,
Yeah.
but but I mean, in New York is different because New York is like a little on an island. If you talk about New York City, it's
Ooh.
not easy to get that much water to service that many people. It's we look at it differently when it's like down in Tennessee or Mississippi or stuff. But
Yeah.
you're trying to get water to 7 million people. I mean, that's a disaster. I mean, you can't use water. You can't cook. What are you gonna do? You can't
Can't
bathe. You can't
can't
drink.
cook. Yeah.
What do
Oof.
you think people gonna be doing in those stores? They're gonna be fighting for stuff. They're gonna be like, yo, people are gonna go in those stores, and it's gonna create, a destabilization of civilization, and then that causes chaos because you could actually have people fighting each other because I got that case of water. Nah, this is for my family. We starving. You can't have it. Before you know it, the first punch is thrown,
Yep.
or someone pulls out a weapon or something, and then it's like, yo, and that's just one store. I mean, it's going to be happening all over the city if that happened, and that's a doomsday nightmare situation.
And speaking of different types of, speaking of war and different types of attacks that can happen, can you explain to the people what a DDoS attack is?
A DDoS is denial of service, dynamic denial of service attack, and what happens is some bad guys, or we call them threat actors, they will
Uh-huh.
hijack some computer systems, and we call them. And this program that they use, it turns all these computers into what we call bots, meaning they're just doing stuff on behalf of human beings, even though they're not. But the term is called bots, and it's almost like imagine your house and everybody in your house trying to talk to you at the same time, right? What happens? You got like, yo, wait, yo, slow down. Somebody gotta like
Mm.
wait. But when you have a DDoS, you're talking like tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of computers trying to talk to one computer and that one computer trying to answer.
Mm.
It's not going to happen. I mean, it's hard when you have two people asking you the same question, right?
Yeah,
What
yeah, that's a
about
fact.
100,000 people trying to ask you a question? How are you going to handle that?
Oh,
You
sir,
can't.
that was an excellent metaphor, my brother. Wow, I never even thought of it like that. And for the people who don't see the severity in that, can you give an example of how a DDoS attack can take down a network?
Sure. Usually they'll go after something that the public uses. Like, let's say you're one of your favorite. I don't know. I'm just making up a shop, like Vitamin Shop or Walmart or just some kind of place where people do commerce, right? You go buy
Yeah.
stuff. Bad guys will try to set up an attack, and they will overwhelm the system. Like sometimes during the holiday season, you say, "Yo, the site crashed. I couldn't buy this Christmas toy," something like that. That happens sometimes. But in a DDoS attack, the bad guys are not trying to shop. They just want to deny service that where
Mm.
people cannot make purchases, go online and shop or buy goods, and it disrupts the commerce for that business. And so they want to do that because bad guys just want to do things. When you
They
got companies doing $1 million a minute in sales, you know, a DDoS attack on a site like Walmart or Amazon, they losing $1 million a second. So if you stop them for
Oh.
20 minutes, what do you think you did? You caused a lot of havoc.
Oh. Damn. Yo, you answered that question so well. I'm over here sitting in shock. I was thinking of something on such a smaller scale, as in a few Christmases ago, this group named Lizard Squad did a DDoS attack on the Xbox Live server, and on
Yeah,
Christmas, nobody was able to play Xbox Live for
I
Christmas
remember.
that day.
I
Yeah.
remember you couldn't even order. They had bots hijacking online marketplaces where the bots bought all the Xboxes and nobody could buy it. This one company had all the Xboxes, and because they used bots to go in there and make all the purchases, and then it was done in 3 minutes, and then one could buy it. Some bots bought all the daggone Xboxes, and nobody could buy no one, and that was it.
Yeah. It's crazy, and I believe that happened with the PS5 too. And like, I'm wondering if that's just going to be the future of, I don't know, online popular releases. I don't know.
Well,
Remains to
they're
be seen.
making they're putting different safeguards in to kind of thwart that and stop that.
Yeah.
People are gonna have to have like you're gonna have to buy a code, and they're gonna use like some type of multi-factor authentication. So you're gonna have to get your code, and then you're gonna have to enter a code to validate your purchase. They're not gonna just leave it open end where you could just have bots buying up all the inventory. It's not gonna work that way anymore. They're gonna use a multi-factor authentication methodology where you may buy something, you may pre-buy your order, and then you're going to get a code, and you're going to use the code to complete your order, because without that code you can't complete your order, and that's how they're going to kind of thwart that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, because once the good guys form the solution, the bad guys form another problem. You know, it's like a revolving door. And while we're on the subject of attacks, can you tell us what is a phishing attack?
Sure, a phishing attack is when a bad guy, there's a lot of them out there, they'll send you like an email, and it'll say something like, you know you won X prize, click this to get your $100. Basically, it's an email that lures you through either a monetary reward or some type of false urgency.
Mm.
And unknowing to that individual, they click on that link, not knowing where that link is going to activate or open up. And when people do it, bad things start to happen. And, at the end of the day, the bad guys either get into their system, or people end up
Mm.
sending money to people they don't even know that don't exist.
All right, so if I could, let's say I'm at home and I get an email that looks like it's from my cousin or my aunt or whoever, right? I get this email and it tells me to click this link. Let's say I'm at home and I click this link, right?
Right.
Nothing happens. I think nothing of it. I just think, all right, whatever, right? What what are the dangers of clicking a link inside of a phishing scam email or a phishing attack?
A lot of
Text, email.
times, a lot of times that click, it takes you someplace, or it either installs something on your computer, and you don't know it because it's not telling you. And it can install some type of a virus or code, and it will probably or can give people remote access to that that phone or that laptop or that desktop computer. And you got to be very careful. Make sure you look at that email address, and make sure you know that it's from that aunt, that uncle, that cousin, that friend. Don't speed read it, slow read it, and make sure, yes, that's my uncle, or that's my cousin, or that's my, you know, whomever, best friend, BFF. But don't rush to click that link. Make sure that email address matches the address associated with that family member or good friend.
Understood. And while we're speaking about this, I feel like this flows pretty nicely. What are some ways that the regular civilian that doesn't have cybersecurity knowledge, like myself, let's say I know nothing, what are some ways that we can protect ourselves, our home networks?
Uh, Actually, if you get like most of the time, if you have like one of the internet service providers, that stuff do a good job at keeping the bad guys from getting into your network. I recommend getting some type of virus protection software to put on your computer or whatever device that you use the internet a lot. A lot. There's some offer some good free ones out there. You can Google it and you can find out. I'm not gonna market anything for anyone particular, but if you do a good a Google search, you can get some free stuff for your cell phone, your tablet, and even some free stuff for your desktop. Um, just do your homework, do some reading, and you can find some good things in there, and that'll help protect you.
All right, nice, nice. And can you tell the good people out there? Shout out to the viewership, by the way. Can you tell the
Yeah,
good
what's up,
people
good people?
what is ransomware?
Yeah, whew. Ransomware has
Uh-huh.
been around for a while now, and it's still serious. The bad guys don't care. They don't discriminate. They don't care. They're going after hospitals, schools, daycare centers, child care centers, senior citizen centers, commercial enterprises, and the government. You name it. Ransomware is basically some bad guys broke into the network at your job or at your school, your university, and they've been in there lurking around for probably a few months,
Mm,
and then they launch an attack where they encrypt everything that they can find, just everything. And without the encryption key, that business owner or that school or that hospital, their computers lock up.
mm.
They kind of just stop, and because it's all encrypted. And what happens is you can't undo it without this special key. And at that point, that's when the bad guys say, "Give me 100 bitcoins,"
Mm,
because bitcoins can't be really traced because of
mm.
blockchain. And 100 bitcoins is quite a lot of money right now. 100 bitcoins put you in the millionaires club real easy.
Sure does. It sure does. All right. So speaking of wow, there's actually two directions we could go in. All right, we'll stick to the attacks because this one I've been talking about with my friends, but I've never gone in depth about this one. Can you describe to the good people what a social engineering attack is?
Social engineering is real.
Mm,
And what it does, or what takes place during social engineering attack, is people use social media information to either get on your good side or entice you to do something because they have social media information. They've been to your Facebook page, and they'll pretend that they're your friend, or they'll pretend they're a family member or someone and you believe that this person you're talking to is your friend or a family member, and then you do something that gives them access to one of your computers or your cell phone or something like that, and at that point they try to get you for whatever they can. But it's really about just masking your social media profile or information that can be found on social media about you to either trick you or persuade you into doing something that where you will lose a monetary value.
mm. And that is that could be very dangerous for a major corporation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for those who don't know what do you want to go deeper into what something being encrypted means for anyone who my friend just texted me. He's like, all right, so what does encrypted like? He doesn't understand the
Well,
concept of something
okay,
being encrypted. Yeah.
and something encrypted, like when you read a book or you read a website, right? It's in English, or it could be in Spanish, it could be in any language. The point is, when it's encrypted, it's no longer what we call in plain text, where you can look it up. Even if it's in Spanish, you can Google it and and have Google translate it into a language of their own preference, what you could read. But when it's encrypted, it changes the characters into an unreadable code or cipher where you can't make any sense of it. And the only way to kind of make it where you can make sense of it is to unencrypt it, or what they call is decrypt it. And once it's decrypted, now it becomes back into what we call plain text. And plain text is what we read every day. I mean, plain text is in Spanish. It's just in Spanish. Plain text could be in Chinese. It's just in Chinese, but it's still plain text. And plain text obviously could be in English. So encryption takes things from plain text to an encrypted writing that can't be read until it's decrypted. And that's what you need a key for. And without that key, there's no way to unlock it.
And that now that's scary. Like for everyone out there, imagine firing up your laptop. You want to make your beats, you want to edit your video, or turn it on your phone, and then all the characters are in Japanese. Imagine that. Imagine being like really locked out of your phone. So pretty much that's what encryption is. So if I could, yo, is firewall technology changing at all? I mean, I've been hearing about firewall ever since DSL modems came around,
Right.
right? So, like, is anything going on with firewall technology right now?
Yes and no. They keep coming out with new things. But a lot of firewalls are still doing the same basic things. The problem with firewalls is they still have holes in them, like Swiss cheese, you know, and it blocks some things, but it doesn't block all things. And the mere fact that someone is sending you emails and you can click on a link and someone can access your machine, it really does. A firewall doesn't really help you. I mean, it really doesn't give you 100% protection. It gives you some protection, but it doesn't give you 100% protection. And so, having a great firewall doesn't stop anything because Microsoft gets attacked every day. So do other platforms. Even the government gets attacked, and they have great, very multi-million-dollar firewalls. But guess what? Attacks still happen. Things still happen. Data gets um, stolen, or what we call exfiltrated. That's the other fancy word. Exfiltrated means
Exfiltrated.
it's got sent out over to Ukraine or Russia or Iran somewhere, all the way from U.S. or somewhere in Europe. But it just still does happen, and they have great firewalls at these companies.
Right. Yeah. And as far as I believe was Mozilla Firefox one of the first web browsers to come out and really push a firewall. Was that like a thing? Do you remember when Mozilla first came out?
Yeah, Mozilla's been around for a while, but a lot of that stuff is software-based firewalls, and they work to some degree. But again, it doesn't stop phishing attacks, and those
Yeah.
things are still real. Because again, a phishing attack is you're on a web page or you add something or you're looking at your email and you click a link and you go to that website, or when you click that link, it installed some software. So your firewall didn't really stop anything. So you got to be careful. So firewalls won't stop phishing attacks. They just don't. And so even if you have $1 million firewall, you can still get hit with a phishing attack. And if you click that link, you can expose that computer to a virus or a worm or some other malicious software, and the firewall didn't save you. So firewalls don't save you at all.
All right. For someone who may want to check to see if their computer is at risk, I don't want you to recommend a brand, but what can they do to run a scan on their system to see if they are compromised?
Good question. One, I would make sure you continuously install your system updates, whether you have a Mac or a Windows machine. Make sure you install all the security updates that they offer. And that will help. The other thing is Google some, free virus protection for your device, whether it be a mobile device, whether it be a Mac book or Android phone or iPhone or Windows PC. You can Google, and talk to the PC net, and they offer some of their recommended top free antiviruses that you can use, and you can put that on your machine. So in addition to doing those patches and installation, you get one of those virus protection softwares, and you can put yourself in good standing, and that adds you some protection to your device.
Yeah, and speaking of forms of protection, is 2FA still something you would recommend people have? Two-factor authentication.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the best things that can prevent people from having unauthorized access to a platform, whether it be your bank account, your social media page. Do that because it stops the bad guys 99% of the time if you have two-factor authentication.
All right. Oh yeah, I had a couple AI questions. Right as we're right at that 25-minute mark. We kind of right where we want to be. I think I just do one more. And
Okay.
you know what? Let's see. All right. Let's say that you were to design a software. I know you say you never developed software, right?
Right.
If you were to develop software to protect a company, like the company that maybe that you work for, what type of things would you implement? What type of systems would you implement? Is there a very specific sort of thing that you would implement to protect an environment that you're a part of?
There's a lot of things you should do and can do. One of the things we talk about in cybersecurity when it comes to software is called the SDLCs, and that's the software development lifecycle. Again, SDLC, and that's a process or a framework in which people who do coding and write software develop software. And so, if I was writing software, one of the things I would do is not allow certain false characters to be implemented or injected into where you type your username and password, because there's some different things that could be exploited if you don't design your code to only accept certain input characters, and that will sometimes stop certain types of threats or attacks into your software. But you have to be mindful of what you're designing and what type of information or codes that can be received as what we call inputs, because it's the inputs that the system or software is waiting for that will allow it or take it to a next step or command. So you have to be very protectful of those inputs and make sure they're validated, and so that not nefarious codes or entries will cause the software to not really crash, but give you either root access or administrator level access into the code, and then you can kind of do other things. Because the really what people want to do is get into code is so they can kind of plant things and set up back doors that allow them long term access to do what most bad guys want is data exfiltration. They don't want to crash your code. They really want to see how much information or data can be exploited or stolen. It's not about crashing computers no more. It's more so about holding them hostage and grabbing, capturing, or stealing as much PII data as possible, because that's where you can start getting into identity theft, credit card theft, and all sorts of other money making scheme opportunities for the bad guys.
Wow, man, that was heavy. That was heavy. And as far as the password input thing, that's not SQL, is it?
Yeah, they call it SQL injection. Yeah, that's the
Oh,
technical
okay.
term.
See, I did a
Yeah.
little reading. Did a little reading. Did a
Yeah,
little reading.
SQL injection, and they force certain character keys, and if you don't code the input variables correctly where they can accept certain things, you can run into a problem. Like you could have something if you don't have the right coding, and you could have a username and password. Your username could be what? It could be it could be John, right, or Jane, right? But
Yeah.
what if it said the password is 1 plus 1 equals 2? If you put that in as the password, that's like an injection, and the computer will say, "Yeah, 1 plus 1 does equal 2," and they're like, "Okay, that's fine, let you in." So you have to kind of be real careful about what they call input injections into software. Again, if you send certain kind of like commands, the computer will say yes, or 2 plus 2 equals 4. That and if that is in a valid or an accepted input, the computer's going to say yes, 2 plus 2 equals 4. You're in.
I never knew that. I never knew that. Wow, man. I was listening to the story, and this kid, he hacked some server by like mashing the space bar. He was just mashing the space bar, and it popped him in his admin eventually after a certain amount of presses. And they said it was like an SQL injection or something like that. I was
Yes,
like,
and that's
wow.
because input variables. You have to lock them down where certain input variables are not accepted. And if you're not careful, guess what? It hasn't been filtered or it hasn't been necessarily blocked, and then you get what you just described. Someone did some kind of bogus it's not a false input, it's an accepted input.
An
But you
accepted
gotta
input.
only set up the password to accept certain inputs.
So I guess that's why a lot of websites stopped allowing certain characters to be used. Oh my goodness! Wow.
Oh
Look, I
yeah.
just learned something heavy right there. I had no idea. Um,
Yep.
Yo, so before we end this, because we're gonna have plenty more of these to come, plenty more.
Why don't we
Uh,
do 5 minutes of question though? Give KF and give the audience, maybe take a couple of questions. Let's take three or four questions from the people out there, because I'm sure they want to not just hear me talk, but they may have a couple of questions. Maybe I can help. I'm not. I don't proclaim to be the know-it-all in cybersecurity and IT, but I'm sure there may be a couple of good questions out there that you might find interesting, and I'll do a couple before we jump off.
yeah. So I just sent some to the community or whatever. I just asked them if they have any questions right now. You know what I'm saying? But I do have others as well regarding artificial intelligence. And I wanted to know, how can artificial intelligence be used um, for defensively?
Artificial intelligence is a great tool. It's not. It's a combination of machines and human beings creating these data tables and data sets, and the computer gets to use the data sets to respond to requests or questions. Because basically, AI is a computer It's not that it's thinking for itself. It just has so many things to draw from. It's almost like if you was able to memorize 1,000 books,
Mm.
you would have a lot of information to what draw from, right? Because you read a
Yes.
thousand books. Versus a 5 year old, how many books has a 5 year old read? None.
None.
So what's their data input or data set? They don't have a data set. They haven't read any books. All they know is what they like sweet things, they like sugar, and they want you know, and they want to run around. So a 5 year old doesn't have a data set. So AI is a machine that has access to a lot of data sets, and it's able
Yeah.
to take that information, pull it, utilize it, and apply it to different questions that is being presented to it.
Hey, and if I could shout out to Martinez in the chat. What's up, Precious? Good to see you. Good to see you. Precious, friend of the show. For any, I'm sorry if I could. Yesterday we did keep it on wax slash nothing left to do, but when we merged it into one show, big mashup. So anyone, you could check out the video that we did yesterday night. 2 hours of content for y'all to check out. Precious was there, the homies was there, A-Rec was there. It was a great time, and we started off talking about hip hop with the Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole thing that was happening. Now back to the proceedings. Hola, how are you, everyone? We are good. We are talking about cybersecurity.
That's right. That's what's up.
All right, so let me see if I have anything else here. Ooh, I want to go back to the social engineering, right? So, can you just give the people an example of a social engineering attack?
All right. There's a lot of different examples. I'll do something that's really not complicated. Social engineering comprises of people just gathering bits and pieces of data, small pieces. But what they do is assemble it and then reutilize it. Social engineering is stuff like, knowing what time you at work. Because you know what? You on Facebook and you tell her, hey, everybody, I'm leaving, I'm going to work. And now you're not at home. So guess what? Now they know that you're home, so now they can attack your house. That's simple social engineering. Another thing that's social engineering is people talking about, things that are they're taking work information and sometimes talking about it on social media. And
Mm,
as you continue to do that, you start getting bits and pieces, and the bad guys start putting that stuff together, and they utilize that information to either pretend they're you, right, or fraudulently use information because they got it from social engineering, meaning they were talking to you and you just happened to talking about your job, and you said, oh, hey, yeah, at my job we do this. And that's just because you just sitting around, you talking at a park bench, or you talking on social
yeah,
media, what you do at your job. Bits and pieces like that, they just capture that and they use that and reuse it. And then they can almost maybe pretend they you. They may send a tech support request to your job and say, hey, my email address is such and such. And before you know it, they got some information. Why? Because they pretended they were you because they was talking to you in the park, or you posted on your Instagram, or you posted on Facebook. You got to be careful. These bad guys are using these platforms to collect PII, personally identified information, and
yes.
then reutilizing it to get past different security barriers at people's jobs and other places.
Exactly, and to piggyback off what you said, imagine if you guys are hanging out with your friends, right? You guys are just chilling, and you say, "Look, Wednesday we gotta close early because this company's coming over to do like an overnight cleaning crew, and it happens every Wednesday, and I hate working on Wednesdays." You don't understand that little bit of information, someone with deviant intent can take that information, put come through with a clipboard in a truck and say, "Yeah, I'm with the cleaning crew. I'm here a little early." And then before you know it, someone gives them access. And these are things that honestly can happen after someone the attacks that we spoke about can be all used in one larger coordinated attack. Right? So
Easily, easily.
easily.
How
Easily.
many people are going to stop a guy with a hard hat, a clipboard, and one of those fluorescent vests? You get to walk right in the building.
Walk into the White House. Say nah,
Walk
not the
right
White
into the
House, but
building.
yeah.
Like you see, he got a hard hat, a fluorescent vest, and a clipboard, and some dangling thing.
Easy way to get access. And I'm sorry for the small delay. I was talking to my lady, but what happens is I was listening to this story, and on this story online, what happens is these guys do penetration tests, and in these penetration tests, they're almost contracted to come in and try to get into your business, right? So, and they do it by way of social engineering. They might send a phishing attack. Who knows? These attacks can happen in various ways at various times. But yeah, once again, shout out to the viewership. Let me see. Precious says, good, and also ask, what can teenagers do to present these types of attacks? So I guess what she's saying is, how can we get teenagers to also be aware of these types of things?
Well, you really just have to, um, take privacy in a little bit more, be more conscious about it and think about it. You know, you just have to. You can't share everything. Can't be shared with everyone, and you got to be mindful of that. Because these bad guys are out here, and they will use anything they can to steal from you. They'll get you to buy debit cards or gift cards, and they'll say, "Send this to me," or that. It's for this or it's for that. These bad guys out here are notorious. It doesn't cost them no money just to talk to you. It costs them no money. Bank robbing days are over. It's all
Mm.
about, getting people to kind of like give up their personal identifiable information so they can backdoor things, get and fraudulently identify you to something and get into your pockets.
Yeah, and if I could, if you guys got kids on that Roblox app, I would advise you check that inbox. I would definitely check that inbox, because don't think that these quote unquote bad guys are above sitting on Roblox all day, building fake relationships with people and pretending to be their age and pulling a lot of information. Like, you got to be careful. These things can happen and they're real. So look, I believe that's all I personally have here as far as questions. I believe we've touched something from the viewers. And is
Okay.
there anything that you would like to say before we close out this volume of cybersecurity?
No, everything is all good. Everybody just protect yourself. Everybody on the other end of a keyboard or a mobile device ain't your friend,
Mm.
and you just got to be mindful of that because it's a tricky world out here, and the crooks, the thieves, and everything are out here to kind of get whatever they can the easiest way possible. So just be mindful of what you're sharing to people over your phone on your Facebook page. Because everybody looking at your Facebook page ain't your friend. Everybody looking at your Instagram page is not your BFF.
Yeah, and yo, if I could, when I see y'all on Facebook doing those surveys about your favorite basketball team and your favorite movie and your favorite show and your favorite food and where you grew up at and how old you are and how much you weigh, you see, and y'all filling these out and sending them along in chains, and people are harboring this information. You got
Yeah,
to be
they are.
careful
They
of
are.
it. You got to be
It's
careful.
called data. They do data collection, and what they do is they create profiles.
Yeah.
And if you do that for about 3 or 4 years, guess how much information you don't share with people?
Hey, man, yo, I seen a video where somebody went to Facebook headquarters and requested the information that they have on them.
It's
That
crazy.
thing, it was crazy, and I
Yeah.
didn't even know that you could do that. And
Yes.
it was all papers, stacked, stacks of papers, all everything,
Yeah.
everything.
Facebook collects so much information on you. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. They got files on people,
Algorithms. I,
and they
I've,
know almost everywhere you went, shopped.
yeah.
It's crazy. So you gotta be careful. That's all I can
Look,
tell you.
they know how long you stare at images, and they use that to create an algorithm based on what you're going to see when you open the app. You ever been
Yes.
talking about something and then you fire up Facebook and it's right there as an advertisement? Like,
Yep.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's
But
deep. It's deep. Those people. Those are real bad guys.
yeah. But yeah, man. Look, I really enjoyed this. I'm about to get on this MP, make some music. You know what I'm saying? Chill out with the fam, and I look forward to us doing this again, brother.
You got it, man. One love.
All right, peace, peace. This was
All right.
Hassan
Deuces.
back with us on cybersecurity. I'm gonna end this stream and I'm gonna show off some merch, of course. Right before I end the stream, I want to show off some merch from our sponsor, Zuleika Shop. SoundCloud.com/chaotic flame, YouTube.com/@ nothing left to do but win. This was cybersecurity. I appreciate y'all reaching out. Shout out to Precious, shout out to Kristen, shout out to the back chat, shout out to Keep It On Wax, shout out to the diplomatic community. Love y'all, and I might be live later, rocking out on the NP. You never know. And shout out to the sponsor, Zuleika Shop. Peace.